This podcast is brought to you by the letter W. W for Wankel, W for Wednesday, which is the day the podcast is recorded, and W for week, referring to the content of said podcast. How is everyone? That's good to hear. I can't remember if I mentioned last week when I was going through all my different rental car and legal battles that I've been going through over the last couple of weeks. But going back to my previous discussion about having both a good and bad run-in with the law in the space of a 24-hour period, the good part, when I had to go and give a witness statement about an accident that I'd seen and dealt with a very, very nice guard, which is, I know, people are going to say, well, he was obviously nice because you were helping him out, but whatever, he was a nice guy. A couple of days later, got a fucking letter through the door to say I'd been fined, I think it was €40, but still annoying less, for parking on double yellow lines outside said guard station. Now, this is Terranure guard station, if anyone's familiar with it. There is no parking within the grounds of the station. It's out on it to a main road which has double yellow lines up and down it. But there was a small piece of footpath, I suppose, with double yellow lines. It was the only place there was, so I parked there. Not obstructing anyone, still plenty of room on the footpath for people to walk by, not blocking any traffic. They didn't mention, hey, is anyone in the guard station? Is that your car? Just to let you know, you should probably move it. It shouldn't be parked there, or leave a note or anything to say hey, look, you shouldn't park there or anything. No, they just fucking said nothing, and then a few days later, I got a fucking fine, £40 for parking on double yellow lines, even though I was down doing my part for society. And yeah, fuck the police. Not all of them. Look, I'm not. Look, some of them are good. Some are good. I meant to mention that last week, and I don't think I did. What other fucking trivialities have I got into? Oh yeah, Saturday. I was working Saturday, which is a bad start. Don't worry, put down your tiny violins. I got Monday off in lieu. But working Saturday, flat out. I was doing a delivery to the Royal College of Surgeons. In Dublin, if you're not aware of where that is, if you want to go on Google Street View, 123, is it 123 Stephen's Green? That must be what it is. Royal College of Surgeons. We pulled in. I was in our larger van, which is a Peugeot Citroen Dispatch. They're all the fucking same. I pulled in. It's a loading bay. Piss and rain. Get out. As soon as I get out the door, I can hear. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Look around to the fucking passenger side, and yep, lo and behold, the passenger side front, I should say, tyre was completely flat. And I did what I needed to do, came back out to change it. So, for one, it was piss and rain, so I had to kneel down in the wet and fucking miserable, cold, wet rain. You get a jack, a towing eye, and a tyre iron, and a little hooky thing for taking the hubcap off the wheel. And the only way to crank the jack is you have to use the tyre iron. So obviously when you try to do it, there's obviously not enough clearance to do a full turn, because you end up hitting the edge of the tyre iron off the ground. So I had to do a half turn each time to get the jack to go up, which took an age in itself. But because I was on a one-way street outside the Royal College of Surgeons, and it was on the passenger side, I had to stop every 5 seconds to let a car pass me by. So yeah, I'm just venting my motoring debacles through this terrible podcast. I don't know who to blame for that, because obviously the Citroen Dispatch, which I've learned is actually called the Citroen Jumpy in most markets. But it's one of those, the van. It's so you get the Citroen Jumpy Dispatch. What's the other one? There's the Peugeot. What do they call the Peugeot one? Peugeot Traveller. I'm not sure what the Peugeot version is. It's called the Peugeot Expert. Sorry, Fiat Scudo. The Toyota Hi-Ace, which is now the Pro Ace. The Opel Vauxhall Vivaro, and the Renault Trafic. They're all the same. I'm not sure exactly who builds them or who designed them initially. But anyway, whoever put that toolkit together, fuck's sake, come on, just give me some sort of device that can allow me to do a continuous crank of the jack. It turns what will be a 30-second job into a 5-minute job. Okay, that's enough of that. I don't have much else to complain about this week, surprisingly. So modern news. Well, I suppose I'll complain about this. If you're living in Ireland, the RSA, which stands for the Road Safety Authority in this country, they deal with fining us for dumb shit that really doesn't matter. They've increased all the fines for traffic violations. So yeah, just another money grab. They'll try and claim that, like, road deaths are down XYZ, which, look, obviously that's a good thing, a reduction in road deaths. But how much of that data takes into account the fact that in the last 20-30 years, cars have become incredibly safer than they were in the past? Like, I'm not saying people don't die in road crashes these days, but you're far less likely to die in a car crash these days than you would have 20-30 years ago. I'm not saying the roads shouldn't be policed, but some of the things you can get fined for and get done for are just ludicrous, and now they're just increasing the fines to make things more difficult for the common man, because not like everything else is getting cheaper. So when you get done doing 66 kilometers an hour in a 60, that'll be, I don't know, I didn't look up, I didn't want to press myself, but I assume it was 80 quid before. It's probably gone up to 100 plus, something ridiculous like that. Again, fuck the police, not all of them. Actually, I don't even know the RSA. Well, the police enforce these rules. If you want to become a member of the law and order, you do have to be willing to take on enforcing the bullshit laws. So again, we need a police force, but it's why I couldn't be one. There's too many bullshit laws that I couldn't enforce. So yeah, look, we need a police force, and I'm glad there are people who are willing to do the job, but I'm gonna start rambling about that shit now. Let's talk about some actual proper car stuff. What's going on? It's the synthetic fuel argument. Well, so I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that the German transport minister was going, hey to the EU. Let's have a look here at synthetic carbon neutral fuels before we go and do a blanket ban of internal combustion engines from 2035. And it's kind of gathering pace now. There was a meeting between him and then transport ministers from Italy, the Czech Republic, Poland, Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia. I don't think we'd get... Who is our... Eamon Ryan's our transport minister? Transport Minister for Ireland. Oh, it is Eamon Ryan. He's obviously not going to be getting on board with that because he's a twig eating. He's an idiot. He was in my house. He had tea in my house. My dad used to be a member of the Green Party before it went full Fianna Fáil. He was a proper Green Partyist where he did believe in this eating tree bark. But yeah, I think we can. Eamon Ryan's not going to get involved in this. Put it that way. Sorry. This is a terrible podcast. But yeah, it seems to be gathering some pace because that's the problem with legislation when it comes in for the motoring world. It's always just a quick sweep and worry about the consequences afterwards. And this one is definitely the word. Like, we can't just eradicate the combustion engine. It makes no sense, especially with carbon neutral fuels. So I'm glad the discussion is gathering pace, and hopefully something comes of it. Like, obviously EVs have their place as well. And like, if they want to bring in like a blanket ban that combustion engine cars can't be used within X amount of kilometers of a city centre, I'm okay with that, to be honest with you. Clean air within the cities, and quiet electric motoring within the cities, fine. I'm just glad there's a discussion being had and it's gathering pace. So more power to them with that one. Some actual car news. There's a new 5 Series on the way in October, which will be interesting to see what that looks like. Obviously, BMW's design language is being questionable at best of recent. And the current 5 Series, which I don't know, the model code, I kind of stopped paying attention after they stopped using E numbers, went to G's and F's and all sorts. But the current one, whatever the current one is called, G90, whatever the fuck. I could look it up, but I'm not going to. Yeah, it'd be interesting because the current one, it's a good looking car, and no doubt it's a great car to drive, although it is massive. But yeah, so there'll be a new 5 in October, and then following in 2024, there'll be the i5, which will be the electric version of the 5 Series, and then there will be some form of i5M. Hopefully there will be an M5. I'm sure there will be, but yeah, interesting. The 5 Series has a dear place in my heart. I've had 2 of them, E39s, both of them, which I'll probably have another at some point. But I love all the 5 Series. Even the one that came before the current one, which is a bit bleh, but they're all good. They're all the 5 Series. If I was getting would that be a E segment? It would be, wouldn't it? Yeah. If I was getting an E segment car, it would always be a 5 Series. So let's look forward to that. October will be around before we know it, for a new 5 Series. Zenvo, them of that car, which I can't remember the name, the mad supercar, the Danish company with the one that has the rear wing that moves when you steer. They're going to be bringing out a new car. They've only released some vague details about it so far. It's going to be called the Zenvo Aurora, as in Borealis. But the main thing they brought out is that it's going to be powered by a 6-litre twin-turbo V12. So I just thought I'd mention that. Again, something to look forward to, more V12s. Because obviously Lamborghini have obviously announced that their Aventador replacement will have a 6.5-litre V12 with a bit of hybrid gubbins attached to it. And since then, they've released pictures of the naked chassis, which they're calling the mono fuselage, because it's got something to do with aeronautical technology. But it's an interesting piece of packaging. It looks quite compact, and obviously it's kind of it's a mono shell, say similar to what McLaren would use. So it should be light and strong. And yeah, I'm more of a Ferrari man than a Lamborghini man. I don't think there's any Lamborghini I think I'd really ever own in some sort of strange hypothetical life that I don't live. But this, look, a new V12 mid-engine supercar is interesting enough, and it'll be interesting to see what this will be like when we see the finished article. Speaking of V12s, again, I finished off, I think, last week's podcast for talking about the Puro Sangue and how the embargo had lifted, so all the journals would have released their videos and articles, and I hadn't read anything or watched anything since then. But I have now. Fucking hell, me. I said I was going to stop doing these after work. I literally did a long day in work today in the pissings of rain. Went for a run. A little bit of a humble brag there, just throw that in there. But just to say, like, I'm quite exhausted, and clearly my brain doesn't work right. Someday I'll do this with a clear head and a proper bit of research. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Surprise, the Puro Sangue is a pretty decent car. Is it worth 400 grand? I think anyone who's buying one, that won't even come into the equation. If I was in the market for a sporty, overly priced SUV, although Ferrari are refusing to call it an SUV, I would have a Puro Sangue. It's got a V12. It's a Ferrari. It drives great, apparently. What more do you need to know? Yeah, I even think it looks kind of good. In a kind of, the good thing about Ferrari is, like, they don't do retro. They don't do conformity. They're quite forward thinking when it comes to their design language, which doesn't always work. But I think this, again, for what it is, I quite like it. Do I think it's better than an FF or a GTC4 Lusso, or whatever the fuck that thing was called? Obviously, on a practical level, it is. It's got real rear seats and more boot space, but whatever. They're cool. F1 this weekend. It'll be in Jeddah to continue the Middle Eastern tour. In Saudi Arabia, the crazy, dangerous, high-speed street track that we saw last year. Or would this be the third year of it? Third year, yeah, because it finished off. Well, it was at the tail end of the 2021 season. It was in the early part of the 22 season, and now it's in the early part of this season again. Hopefully there'll be a closer fight compared to what we had in Bahrain, where Red Bull just ran away with it. Unfortunately, Charles Leclerc and Ferrari probably won't be involved, because Charles Leclerc is going to be taking a grid penalty for whatever happened to his engine last time. I know they changed the control electronics before the race, and they probably have to change them again because of whatever happened to him in Bahrain. That means he has to take a grid penalty because he can only use 2, and he's already used 2 now. So like, yeah, getting an entry penalty within the second race must be some sort of record. Oh, Ferrari. Yeah, so I know it's too early to be making these judgments, but I think Alonso's my horse this year. It'd be great to see if him and Aston can keep this gravy train going that they've had since testing and the opening round, and at least poke Red Bull a little bit. But yeah, I'd be highly surprised if anything other than a Red Bull front row lockout from qualifying and a Red Bull 1-2. But we shall see. Maybe someone can beat Checo, but Max will just run off into the distance. In other motorsport news, the World Rally Championship is back this weekend, Rally Mexico. I don't know if we have any wild cards in this one. I don't know if Ogier is back for this one, and we definitely don't have Craig Breen for this one. But yeah, I do love a bit of WRC, so it'd be nice to see. If unfortunately, as I mentioned previously, the coverage is pretty terrible, but I will try and keep my finger on the pulse, although it is St. Patrick's weekend, so there will be a supreme amount of drinking done from Friday probably through until Sunday, but I will try and keep my finger on the pulse of the motorsport that's going on over the weekend. I'm going to wrap this up now because it's been extra terrible. I don't think it's been particularly long. 16 minutes, geez, that's the shortest one I've ever done. So I'll wrap up with my normal run of things that I do at the end. Classified find of the week. Is it actually still for sale? I should double check. Yep, it is. It's a 1996, the year I was born, don't say it too loud. A 1996 Citroen CX for €4,500, which seems incredibly good value considering the market these days. It's a 2.2 litre petrol manual with 74,000 kilometres on it. It's NCT'd until March next year. I'm not sure about specs on CXs. Don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of them, but I think this might be one of the more basic specs. It's a lovely kind of grey cloth. It's great. Now the front end and the rear end do look like slightly different shades of silver, so maybe it's a cut and shut. But it does say it's had new hydropneumatic spheres fitted, so the suspension should be tip top. As I said, it does have a year's worth of NCT, so they obviously haven't seen anything to be too worried about. Obviously, it has McLaren F1 wing mirrors. Although no, they came on the Citroen CX first. I'm being pedantic. So it's a CX 2.2 TRS. I don't know what the TRS stands for. But yeah, that looks like unless it's a cut and shut, or it's just 1980s French paint, or it could even be the lighting of the pictures. But I probably really should go and have a look at this. Where is it? It's in Meath. I have it saved. It's in Enniscorthy in Wexford. But that seems like a bargain to me. I think that's one of my best classified finds of the week so far. Have a look yourself. It's on done deal. Citroen CX 1986. For €4,500 with 72,000 kilometres on it and a year's NCT. And it's a manual. My YouTube channel I'll recommend to you this week. Chain Bear. He does motorsport, but mostly F1 videos. Mostly explainers about the technical side. He kind of delves into the politics a bit here and there and the racing. Very well thought out, very well presented, very well researched videos. He puts these animations on top of them to explain stuff. He does stuff for the layman who's coming in, for new information on F1, but he also makes stuff for nerds like myself who've been watching it for years. He hasn't posted anything in a couple of months, but he did say he was taking a break over the winter because he was flat out, and he probably will be flat out again once he starts uploading again. But check him out, Chain Bear on YouTube. Great content for motorsport and mostly F1. If you're new to F1, it's a good one to check out. He has loads of stuff there that will explain shit to you that which you probably don't understand. So if you have any questions about Formula 1, it might be a good source to get the answers you're looking for. And then last but not least, my song recommendation. It's not a new song. It's a song that came out when did it come out? 2001. It was released on, it's probably why it's not as known as it should be. It was released on September 11th, 2001. But it's a great song by two titans of the hip-hop world. It's a song called Renegade. It was on Jay-Z's Blueprint album, but it features Eminem. And yeah, so if you were like, what? Jay-Z and Eminem did a song together? Yes, they did. Maybe you're aware of it, but you probably haven't listened to it in nearly 20 years. Go back and listen to it. It's amazing. Look, it's probably not the greatest song that either Jay-Z or Eminem have done respectively, but it's a great track by two great artists. Two hip-hop artists which obviously are juxtaposed, not because of their skin colour, but Jay-Z is famed for, just jumping into the mic booth and just spitting out rhymes as they come to him, not writing anything down, whereas Eminem is the flip opposite, who's known for writing down everything that comes into his head. And a coffee table book of Eminem's notebooks would be a great thing. Maybe it already exists. I don't know. Right, I'm going to stop talking now because this is very terrible. More terrible than usual. So terrible it's actually quite short compared to most of my rambly bullshit podcasts. So yeah, at some point I will get a proper microphone. I will do proper research, and it won't be a rambling mess. But I'm going to keep up the consistency until I get to that point anyway. So thank you to anyone who has been listening. You're lovely people. Be safe, be well, enjoy the Patrick's weekend, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.